Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future home buyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. LoFi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got a busy show today. We got a busy Week 16. We got a huge matchup in Detroit between the Lions and the Rams. We got a big matchup in Philadelphia between the Steelers and the Eagles. But we got to start with tomorrow night's game in the NFC West between the Rams and the 49ers. The Rams trying to get revenge on the 49ers trying to get revenge on what happened in Week 3. The Rams trying to win the NFC West. And they are one game behind the Seahawks in the division. And this is a big game because I think, the Rams lose, this hurts their chances. If the Niners lose, this pretty much ends their playoff hopes. So this should be a competitive game between both teams. But I'm going to take the team here that's more healthy. I'm going to take the team that's more healthy. I'm going to take the team that's more healthy, and I think the Rams offense is another big day. I think Stafford has a big day through the air. I think that their defense gets pressure on Purdy, forces a mistake. I think there's a good chance that Boza and Trent Williams are going to be out again for the Niners. And the Niners aren't playing the Bears this week. They're playing the Rams. So I think this is going to be a close competitive game. But I'm going to go with the Rams here. I'm going to go with the Rams to beat the Niners 24-20. But Justin, can the Niners get revenge from Week 3 and keep their playoff hopes alive?
I think they do. I got the Niners 27-23 here. I know the Niners right now, they're pretty banged up. They don't really have many healthy running backs, but I think under that Shanahan offense, they kind of plug any running back in and they're able to run the football effectively enough. I think the Rams coming off that kind of shootout the other day against Buffalo. Brock Purdy looked healthy on Sunday. They and he looked good. So I think in this one, I think the Niners do enough and they get revenge for the matchup early on in the season, and the Niners get the win.
Yeah, it should be a close competitive game between them both. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. But I just don't think the Niners are healthy right now. They obviously have McCaffrey. He's out for the year. And then you're probably not going to have Trent Williams or Nick Bosa. I think the story of the Niners season is coming close against these division teams and losing. It started in Week 3. That set the tone for the entire year for the Niners. Week 3, they had a 10-point lead against the Rams. They blew that. Week 5, they had a 2-score lead against the Cardinals in the fourth quarter. They blew that. And then in the Seahawk game, they had a lead in the fourth quarter. They blew that. I just think the story of the Niners season has been blowing leads in the fourth quarter against against teams in their division, and I think that's going to happen again this week. And that's why I think the Niners lose. I think the Rams win and continue to keep pace with the Seahawks in the NFC West.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shy because the Niners season would definitely be in a different spot right now than if they held on to a couple of those games so far this year in the NFC West, and they're still right there. Obviously they're only 2 games back, but they're in first place. They hold on those 3 leads, and that's always been something that's been the Achilles heel of Shanahan, and holding on the fourth quarter leads. But yeah, I still don't think the Rams defense is that great, and I do think Purdy plays well, and I think whoever runs the football or who's ever playing running back has a pretty good game on the ground, and I do think that is able to kind of carry San Francisco here because I know they played Chicago last week. I kind of thought you were going to get the best of it from the Bears, and maybe the Niners after that Bills game, maybe you get them to kind of shut down for the year, but that didn't. It looked like a team that's still kind of fighting, that knows that they still have a chance here to win the NFC West. So I do think you're going to see another kind of spirited outing here for San Francisco.
Yeah, that definitely could happen. That definitely could happen for the Niners, but I just think the Rams been close. But the big question for the Niners too is if they lose this game, is it over? Is the season over? And I think it absolutely definitely is. Looking at they look at the fact they got the Lions, they got the Dolphins in Miami, the Lions, and then the Cardinals on the road. It's tough regardless for them going forward, but I think it's done. I think they are. If the Niners lose this game, I think they're done.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they lose this one, they're 1-4 into the division. You're going to be, maybe 3 games back if Seattle wins on Sunday night. So, yeah, if the Niners lose here, I think their season's pretty much over and it's on the next year for them.
It definitely is. It definitely is, and it just doesn't seem like it's their year. It just doesn't with all the injuries they've had, and coming off the Super Bowl loss. It just doesn't seem like it's the Niners' year. But staying in the NFC West and talking about the team that is a game ahead of the Rams in the NFC West, that is the Seahawks as they host the Packers on Sunday Night Football. And I think this game is going to be close, it's going to be competitive. But the difference in this game is going to be, I think the Packers will run the ball better because I don't know if Kenneth Walker is going to play. And Zach Charbonnet is not going to have that kind of game against the Packers defense that he did against the Cardinals last week. So I think it's the running game. And I think Jordan Love's going to outplay Geno Smith. And I think it's going to be the Packers run game and Love outplaying Geno Smith. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. And that's why I think the Packers win this. I think the Packers win this 27-20. But Justin, can the Seahawks win their fifth in a row and can the Seahawks win their fifth in a row and stay in first place in the NFC West?
I think they do. I got Seattle in this one 27-21. I really like the way Seattle's defense is starting to play better. They cut their leading tackler a couple weeks ago, and it kind of sent a message to that rest of the locker room. And I think Geno plays pretty well in this one. And Jordan Love always feels like he makes that big mistake. Once a game it feels like, and I think Seattle's going to be able to do that to force that turnover in this one. And I know that Seattle hasn't played great at home this year, but maybe they're 3-4 and 5-1 on the road. But maybe with this game kind of being a Sunday night game, they really get that home field advantage back this week. And I do think Geno plays well, and they get the win over Green Bay.
Yeah, and you brought up Seattle struggles at home. They have really struggled at home. They've lost 4 times at home. They're funny. They're in first place, but they're 3-4 at home with a home field advantage. That's really really good, which is a really really good home field advantage too. So it is surprising that the Seahawks are 3-4 at home. One of those losses was to the Giants. One of those losses was to the Giants. Another, I think they lost the 49ers, the Bills, and I'm trying to remember the other one that they lost. Arizona. No, they beat Arizona. So,
they did.
Still, the Rams. So they're 3-4. It's so crazy how they're they only lost one game on the road. It's usually the other way around with the Seahawks. Pretty interesting that they're really good on the road, but they're just not that good at home. That's the reason why I'm taking the Packers in this game.
Yeah, I can see why. I thought Packers would get Detroit last week, and they just could not hold on to win that game. And yeah, I think Seattle. I just like the way they're playing. I think Mike McDaniel's finally getting that defense pretty much into that bye week. Their defense is really settled in. I know they gave up 21 to the Jets, but they held the Niners to 17. They held Cardinals last week 18, and then 6 a couple weeks ago. So I really like the way the defense is playing right now, and I think again, I think Jordan Love is like I just Love always seems to make 1 or 2 bad mistakes, and I think that's going to cost Green Bay in this one. I think Geno is going to have some yards through the air against that secondary, so that's why I think Seattle's is able to win this game Sunday night.
Yeah, it should be a good one between the Seahawks and Packers on Sunday night. But we'll move on to one of probably the biggest game in Week 15, and that is between the Bills and the Lions. This should be a really fun, should be a competitive game on both sides. I think it should be up and down the field. I think it's going to be. I think that the Lions are going to have success running the ball. I think Josh Allen's going to have a big game. Not as high scoring, but I think it's going to be a little bit similar to last week where Josh Allen I don't think he's going to have as good of a game as he did the week before, but I think he's going to have a good game. I think the Bills are going to lose because I just don't think the Bills are going to be able to stop the Lions. I just don't think they're going to be able to stop the Lions. I think that Jared Goff's going to have a big day. I think that that they're going to be able to run the ball. And I got the Lions here. I got the Lions going to 13-1. I got them going to 13-1, winning this game, 34-27 over the Bills. But Justin, can Josh Allen, the Bills, bounce back this week and keep pace with the Chiefs for the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I get the Bills here as 31-27. I I know the Bills defense isn't playing great right now. They've struggled defensively last couple weeks, but I think the Lions are pretty banged up. I know the Bills are too. Both defenses are, but I think the difference in this game is going to be Josh Allen's legs. And I do think he's going to be able to make those big third and like four. If he's got to scramble and has enough green grass because the first down, I think he picks those up. And I think the Bills last week they just they're coming off that Sunday night game. They just clinched the division. Then you had to go for a West Coast trip. So I think this week they kind of regroup. I think they play really well against a Detroit team that has like that Bears game, they had a possibility of losing that game. Last week Green Bay, that was another tight one. Like I think this week the Bills are able to kind of nab them here at home, and the Bills keep pace with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I just don't see. I just think the Lions are so good offensively at home. I just don't. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game, but I just don't think they keep up with them. Now, I think the Bills might run the ball a little bit better than expected because the Lions have so many injuries in their front seven. But yeah, I just can't see the Lions losing at home. I just can't see them lose. I know they lost earlier to Tampa Bay early in the season at home, but that was in week 2. So I just can't see the Lions losing a big game at home. That's why I think it's going to be close and competitive. But I think that the Lions will eventually win. But the big question is could this be a Super Bowl preview? Could this be a Super Bowl preview between these two teams? And I think it could, but it's not my pick right now for the Super Bowl. My pick is my preseason pick is the Chiefs and the Lions. That's my pick. But I think if they're but if it's not the Chiefs, I think it's still the Bills. If it's not the Chiefs, it's the Bills because of how good Josh Allen is, and I think they'll play the Lions because I don't think there's a team in the NFC that's better than the Lions. So I think it's very easy. It could be it's not my first choice to be the Super Bowl this year, but it's probably my second choice to be the Super Bowl with the Bills and the Lions. It would be both teams trying to win their first Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be a crazy Super Bowl with these two if that happens. I don't think it will either, and I think the reason why is why the Bills lost last Sunday. Sean McDermott, calling that timeout there and on the failed, tush push. Like it just, I don't trust McDermott in a big moment, in a big spot, in a big game. I just don't. I know Campbell, he's very aggressive. It's worked out most of the time this year, but I just think the Lions are better than everybody else in the NFC, and I think they'll be able to help the Bills. I know they're 13 seconds away there from beating the Chiefs. I just don't see that team going to Arrowhead and beating them. I just don't.
Yeah, they struggle in the playoffs, and the biggest reason why is the difference in coaching. Andy Reid is a much better coach than Sean McDermott. I mean, I'm saying McDermott's good, but he's not even close to Andy Reid. That's the thing. It's the difference in coaching. It's the difference in coaching, and that's the biggest difference between the Chiefs and the Bills. And that's why, and the Bills will beat them in the regular season, but they can't beat them in the playoffs. I think the biggest reason why is coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, because you saw it. I know the Chiefs have been. Hold on a second. Let me grab some.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, sorry, I'm battling a cold too.
It seemed like it there.
Yeah, if you see me muting the mic, try not to cough, on the air here. But yeah. So I think the Bills here, with the playoffs, I think with the Bengals struggling, I know the Chargers look good, the Steelers, the Ravens, like it's going to be a pretty competitive AFC. I think the Bills have the most talent, and again, the Chiefs just can't keep winning these games like they have. Like at some point, they're going to lose a couple of these down the stretch. It's impossible to keep winning the way they are. So, look, I think the Bills just have enough talent. I just don't trust. Yeah, McDermott again. McDermott versus Andy Reid. I gotta choose Andy Reid every time.
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue with the Bills. They just don't have a coach. I mean, and I think McDermott's good. They don't have a coach that matches Kansas City's head coach. They just don't. I mean, the difference between the quarterbacks is not as big as the difference between the coach. Because Josh Allen, I think, is the second best quarterback in football. And a lot of people are arguably saying this year that he's the best quarterback in football. But yeah, the coaching is the issue. That's why I think it's going to be Chiefs and Lions in the Super Bowl. I think those are the two teams. And on the Lions side, I just don't think there's a team in the NFC that can go into Detroit and beat them. The Vikings have been playing really well, and Sam Darnold's been playing really well, but Sam Darnold doesn't have any playoff experience. The Eagles, yes, they probably have the best roster in the league, but you see what's happened this week. That coach has let their issues in the locker room go out to the public. I still can't trust that team. The Packers, they're 0-4 against the Lions, the Vikings. They're 0-4 against they're against the Lions, Vikings, and Eagles, the top 3 teams in the NFC. So it's tough to trust them. So it's just tough to trust anyone else. So that's why I like the Lions in the NFC, and that's why I don't think this is my first choice to be a Super Bowl preview, as we mentioned, because of the coaching between Andy Reid and Sean McDermott. That's why I have the Chiefs and the Lions right now in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Lions, it feels like it's their year right now. You talk about the Phillies issues right now. I still don't trust them. I don't think you could trust Sam Darnold in a big game in the playoffs. I'm still not there yet with the Vikings. So, obviously the Niners are mained up, and I don't really trust anybody else in the NFC West right now. So, yeah, then you put it well. The Lions right now should get to the Super Bowl, and it would be pretty disappointing if they don't this year.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's the Lions here to get to the Super Bowl. Bills, I think it's going to be hard because I still think they're going to have to get through. They're going to have to get through Kansas City to get there. But we will move on to another big matchup in Week 15. It is the Battle of Pennsylvania between the Steelers and Eagles. The Eagles have had distractions this week. There's a lot of distractions with the Eagles this week with the comments by A.J. Brown talking about the passing game. Then Brandon Graham makes it worse by talking about A.J. Brown's got to be accountable and saying that Jalen Hurts is trying. So there is drama in Philly this week. And it's tough to prepare. I know they have the better team, and there's a chance that the Steelers won't have George Pickens, but it's tough to prepare for a game like this with the distractions that they have right now. And I think in this game, I think that the Steelers are going to force a couple turnovers. I think Jalen Hurts is going to struggle. I think that Russell Wilson is going to be the quarterback that makes less mistakes. The Eagles might outgang them. The Eagles might outplay the Steelers because George Pickens will be out. But I think the turnovers by Jalen Hurts is going to be the difference. And that's why I think the Steelers are going to pull this upset. I think the Steelers are going to pull the upset. I got the Steelers 23-20. I got the Steelers 23-20 over the Eagles. And Justin, the question is yes, there's a lot of drama in Philly, but Saquon Barkley's been phenomenal. Can he carry them to their 10th straight win?
No, we're finally agreeing a game this week. I had the Steelers as well, 24-21. I just think, Pittsburgh's been really good stopping the run this year. And Pitt at home, Tomlin's an underdog here. I like the way Russell Wilson playing, that offense is playing. And the Eagles have been a run-first team this year. And I think the Steelers kind of playing at home, that grass field, Heinz Field, or whatever it's called now, I do think it's a difference because, I don't trust what's going on in the Eagles locker room. Like A.J. Brown not being happy about his touches after a win. It's just that stuff can't happen with the way they're playing 9 straight victories right now. So, I got the Steelers here 24-21.
And the big question is with the stuff going on in the Eagles locker room, say they lose this week to the Steelers, could this be a repeat of last year where they completely collapse? Could this be a repeat in December? Could this be a repeat of last year? And I'm going to say no, because even if they lose this game, they do have the Commanders, which they could definitely lose that game in Washington. But look at their last 2 games of the season. They got the Cowboys at home, and they got the Giants at home. I just think it's impossible for them to collapse. And it's not like the Cowboys, it's not like the Cardinals last year who had some momentum with Kyler Murray, and they were able to pull that upset. The Cowboys, I know they're a division rival, but you saw what happened Monday night. You really think that team's pulling an upset in Philly late in the season? And then we don't even need to talk about the team they're playing in the last game of the season. I mean, you really think with the way things are with Daboll and the Giants, because last year, the Giants upset the Eagles, but they were definitely in a much better spot than they are now. The Giants are, and we'll get to them, they're a complete dumpster fire. So I just don't see any way the Eagles finish worse than 13-4. And Washington already has 5 losses. So that means they'll win the division and probably get the number 2 seed in the NFC. So even if they lose this game, and I know there's drama in the Eagles locker room, I don't think it's going to be a repeat of last year.
No, I'm with you. I think they are able to regroup. I don't trust Sirianni to totally steer the ship and make this team a Super Bowl, get the Super Bowl, even win it. But I think they'll win this division. I think they'll get in as a 2 seed. They'll probably win a game, but I don't see this team going like Detroit and winning. I just don't trust Nick Sirianni in that locker room to kind of fix things internally. I know he's done a little bit better of a job. Like this team is getting better, but the locker room stuff, there's still just things with Sirianni I just can't trust with him. So, it's a good team. I don't think it's going to totally fall apart like it did last year, but I still don't think they're winning a Super Bowl though.
No, I don't think. I don't think they're winning a Super Bowl, but I just don't think. I think it's kind of in the middle of from 2022 to 2023. I don't think this team gets to the Super Bowl, But I could see them, winning a game or two in the playoffs and getting to the championship game against the Lions. I don't think it's going to be like 2023 where they just completely start 11-1 and they completely collapse. But I don't think it's going to be like 2022 where they get to the Super Bowl. So I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's going to fall somewhere in the middle. And I don't think the Eagle team will get to the Super Bowl, but I don't think they collapse.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I don't think they'll keep it completely collapsed, but I don't think they're winning Super Bowl either. So yeah, I think they'll fall somewhere in the middle, in that middle tier.
Exactly. Now, moving on to a team that's chasing the Steelers, that's chasing the Steelers in the division, and also they're playing a team that is in the Eagles division, but is a total dumpster fire right now. That's the Giants. And you saw the plane fly over the stadium. Mr. Mara, please fix this dumpster fire. You saw the game against New Orleans, which was an absolute disgrace. I mean, honestly, that game and the 4th and 9 quarterback sneak are so close to absolute low moments in Giants history. I mean, who would have thought 2 years ago with Daboll and then winning a playoff game and winning a playoff game and surprising everyone and going 9-7-1? Who would have thought we'd be here? Who thought we'd be here? We're right back where they were. They're right back where they were 3 years ago. This organization is an absolute disgrace. It's an embarrassment. And it's amazing Brian Daboll allowed this to happen. We never thought Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll would allow this to happen, but they did. Joe Schoen with the terrible drafts the first 2 years, and then the Saquon thing, embarrassing themselves in Hard Knocks, calling Saquon a $12 million back, and then Brian Daboll, not getting along with coaches last year. It started last year, not getting along with coaches, and this year it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. As a Giants fan, I'm ready to move on. After the game on Sunday, I'm ready to move on. That was an absolute embarrassment. That could not have been a bigger embarrassment on Sunday. I was as embarrassed as I was during the 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak, and I never thought I would get that embarrassed rooting for this team again. It's amazing. The last decade, they just find new lows. And yesterday, and you thought, this season, it won't get worse than Minnesota. It did against Philly. Oh, it won't get worse than it did against Philly at home. It did against Tampa. And then it got even worse. It got even worse against the Saints. And let me tell you something. I think it's going to get even worse. It's going to get even worse against the Ravens because Tommy DeVito is starting, and that Ravens defense, Zach Orr is going to bring blitzes. He's going to get sacked, I think, at least 5 times. DeVito gets sacked at least 5 times. They're not going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to turn the ball over at least 2 times. This game is not even going to be – it's going to be bad. They're a 14.5-point underdog, and they've never been this big of an underdog at home since 1966. And I think the Ravens are going to cover. They're going to win, and they're going to cover. This is a get-right game for the Ravens after their loss to the Eagles. They're coming off the bye. Derrick Henry's going to have a big day on the ground. You're probably going to see Tyler Huntley playing in the 4th quarter of this game because Lamar Jackson's going to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry's going to have a big day on the ground. The Ravens defense is going to force a couple turnovers from Tommy DeVito, and it's going to get even worse at home for the Giants this week as they're going to lose to the Ravens. I have them losing to the Ravens 34-10. And Justin, the game's not even worth a question. I agree. You got the same.
I got the Raven 20-10 in this one. Yeah. And you should be frustrated if you're a Giants fan. It's complete embarrassment that what this team's turned into. The last time I was on the air was that they had Daniel Jones run out there and play defensive back and practice. Like you embarrass the guy. Like that's not the way they've handled everything this year from Barkley to Daniel Jones. It's absolutely pathetic, and Merritt should be embarrassed with what Shane and Daboll are doing. It's an absolute embarrassment. And I know this is once a proud franchise, but ever since they got rid of Coughlin, it has just been bad news after bad news after it's right with there with the Raiders of probably the worst ran organization in the National Football League right now.
Jets, Jaguars are there.
Yes,
and your team's heading. Your team could be heading. We'll see which path your team heads down this offseason. But
at least we have our quarterback.
Exactly. At least you got your quarterback, and you've only been in this for like 5 years. The Giants have been in this mess for a decade. Yeah, they're right there with one of the worst organizations in football, with the Jets, with the Jaguars, with the Raiders, with the Browns. They're right there. They've been so inept, and you talked about it. Ever since Coughlin has left, the franchise has been a flat-out embarrassment. I mean, the McAdoo, he had that good first year, but then it was a disastrous second year. They bring in Gettleman, who they have the number 2 overall pick, and they don't take. I know Saquon's a phenomenal player, but they don't take a quarterback with that pick, which was absolutely ridiculous. And then they get rid of Shermer after 2019. But the weird part of 2019 was they took a quarterback and still had Eli on the roster in 2019. They overdrafted Daniel Jones. And then the coaching decision, Joe Judge, a disaster. And who would have thought Brian Daboll would be a disaster? But seeing the game on Sunday, how pathetic was that? 13 points were taken off the board. 13 points, and all were on special teams. You had the punt return that got called back, and then one of the most pathetic things in the game. They got a 15-yard penalty on a made field goal, and took those points off the board. Then they come back, and then they miss a 35-yard field goal. It's just an absolute disaster, and it's gonna get worse on Sunday because the Ravens are coming in, and they're gonna blitz DeVito. They're gonna blitz DeVito. They're gonna run the ball. There's no one on the Giants, even if they put 8 guys in the box. Without Dexter Lawrence, there's no one there that could stop Derrick Henry. There's no one there that can stop Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's gonna do whatever he wants with it. So disgraceful franchise the Giants have turned into. It is so embarrassing, and it's gonna get really, really bad on Sunday. There's probably going to be more Raven fans than Giant fans because the game against the Saints, it was half empty. The stadium was half empty. The stadium was half empty. So yeah, it's going to be an outright embarrassment on Sunday. It's going to be another embarrassing home performance on Sunday. I think I got the Ravens winning big.
Yeah. No, I think you summed it up beautifully. It's a complete and utter disgrace. And look, there's a lot of changes that need to happen. It's not you just need to find the quarterback. There's a lot. Organizational wise, a ton needs to happen this offseason. And
this team was not a quarterback away, and that's why all the BS that Joe Shane was trying to sell during his bye-week press conference was all BS because they're not a quarterback away. Daniel Jones is not terrible. Daniel Jones won a playoff game. Now he's an average, maybe above average quarterback at best, but he was not a terrible quarterback. He's a decent player. That the organization, this was the reason the Giants, I know Daniel Jones had his hand in it, but the reason they were as bad as they wasn't because it was more about the organization than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, no, it absolutely has. And John Mara, he needs somebody with zero ties to him or that organization come in and give him an honest evaluation of that system or of the entire organization. It tells them what, and what they need to fix and what has to be done to get this thing to ride the ship or just who to bring in. He really needs somebody that has zero ties to that organization to come give him an honest opinion about this stuff because it's a total mess. It's a total dumpster fire because, again, it's been the same cycle since Coughlin's been gone. And I just think from organization up down, they just need a total cleansing. And it just, if Lawrence Mayor's there, I know he likes people that he trusts to give him kind of, he likes to have people that have ties with that organization come in and help. Sometimes I know they tried it this time without it, but I just think up to down, they just need somebody good in there to give them an honest opinion of how to fix this all. And
for me, though, here's the thing for me. The scary part is they took 2 guys, Daboll and Shane, had no ties to the organization, and they're still in the same spot they were 3 years ago. That's the scariest part, honestly. And you saw, and they showed after the game, the bags on the fans' heads, and one of them said, "Sell the team." I don't think this gets better until Mayer sells the team. I'm to be honest. I think he's got to sell the team. That's how pathetic this is right now. That's how pathetic this organization is right now.
Yeah. The problem is they've had that. I don't think there's any way that Mayer. I think they're like the Steinbrenners. Right, because they don't have an outside thing. Their team is Giants. That's their business, right? That's a problem. Yeah. I don't think that's, unfortunately for you, it's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
You got to hope with Dolan in the Knicks, he finally figured it out at some point. It took a while.
Yeah.
But you got to hope he just figures out at some point.
Yeah, that's where they're at right now. It's a very, very sad state for the Giants. But now moving on to another organization that not isn't as bad of a state, but is in another bad place, and that's the Cowboys. And they play the Carolina Panthers this week. And I think the Cowboys get upset here. I think they get upset. I think Bryce Young has played well. He could have beat the Eagles, but Xavier Legette dropped the ball. They could have beaten the Eagles last week. Bryce Young has played a lot better since he's been benched. I think things are coming together between him and Dave Canales. See, I think the Panthers have kind of figured it out now with the coach and the quarterback. David Tepper has got to stick with these 2 guys. He's got to ride out with these 2 guys because I think they're trying to figure out with the coach and quarterback. Now they need to draft all defense because their defense is one of the worst in football. And for the Cowboys, that was a horrendous way to lose a game. I mean, I don't think I've seen a team lose a game like that since the Leon Lett game. That hasn't happened since Leon Lett. You blocked the punt, and so they had the game won. They pretty much were going to beat the Bengals. They had the game won, and then they touched a blocked punt. That just cannot happen in an organization. And then you get Stephen Jones talking about, oh, we're going to keep you can't keep Mike McCarthy. You can't keep things the way they are. You need, as we talked about the Giants, they need a coach or even they're not going to get a GM. They need a coach to tell them how things are, not to have them do things their way, because their way is not working. It's not working. They said Derrick Henry didn't fit the offense, which was total BS. And there's a reason this team, I know they'd be a little bit better with Dak, but there's a reason even with Dak and Parsons being healthy the entire year, this isn't even a Super Bowl contender. This would have been an average team with Dak and Parsons, and now they'll be lucky. They'll be lucky. This is probably the only game they could probably win for the rest of the season, because they're not beating the Bucs, they're not beating the Eagles, and they're probably not beating I know they beat the Commanders the first time, and they're not beating them the second time with them being out of the playoffs. So the best they're probably going to finish is 6-11. And this game, I like the Panthers here. I think Bryce Young has a big day. I think Chuba Hubbard has a really good game on the ground, and I think Cooper Rush moves the ball, but I think he makes a big mistake in the end, just like he did on Monday night in the red zone. So I got the Panthers here. I got the Panthers 28-24. And Justin, I talked about the misery in Dallas. Does the misery continue in Dallas after this game?
Yeah, I'm with you. I get Carolina 23-20, and yeah, first time in 33 games that the Panthers are favorite. Or will close if the line continues in their favorite, they will close the favorite for first time in 33 games. So, crazy since Dallas, but yeah, it's been a total train wreck this year, and yeah, and again going in the year, I think I had them like 9-8. Like, it wasn't a good roster. Like, they had a pretty easy schedule last year. Every time they faced somebody with a pulse, they either lost pretty badly, it felt like, and then obviously what happened in the playoff game, they got embarrassed at home in Green Bay. Like, I think everybody knew kind of going in it was an average roster that maybe they sneak in the playoffs, but you're probably get eliminated in the wild card round. And yeah, Dak and you Parsons, you have Parsons, they were kind of walking off the field with like 10 seconds left last week. Like, it's just a total dumpster fire. It's been a mess. You had a lame duck head coach in the minute, from last, he's a lame duck coach. At least they're still playing hard for him. But yeah, there's a lot of issues that Jerry needs to clean up, but he never will, because his ego is way too big, and it's never going to change in Dallas. It's the same thing. It's been a revolving door.
Yeah, and if I'm Micah Parsons, I wouldn't. Honestly, I wouldn't resign there. Honestly, to have to lose a game like that. I'm a top player in the league. I know he runs his mouth a lot. I know he's a podcast and everything, but I'm a top player in the league. Do I really want to play in Dallas? Do I really want to play with Jerry Jones? And then even if he hires McCarthy, he's going to hire the next puppet he could boss around. Do I really want to play in an organization with Jerry Jones leading it? Because you know where it's going to head to. Even if you're good, you're not going to make it far in the playoffs, or you could have a year like this year where you don't make the playoffs and you win 6 games. So if I'm Micah Parsons, I know the Cowboys are going to pay him. He's probably going to stay there because they're going to pay him more than any other player. They're going to make him the highest paid edge rusher. They definitely will, because that's the only way they could keep him there. Is that, they paid Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes. They paid Dak Prescott like he's Patrick Mahomes. They paid CeeDee Lamb like he's Justin Jefferson, and they're going to pay Micah Parsons. He's a great player. I'm not saying but he's not as good as Myles Garrett. But they're going to pay him Myles Garrett money. So, but if I'm Micah, I could make over $30 million anywhere in the league. I'd force a trade. I'd force the Cowboys to trade me. I really would. I would want out of there, because I don't really condone guys walking out at the end of a game, but to lose a game like that, that's inexcusable. You can't lose that way. You just cannot do that. I get they're playing hard for McCarthy, but that loss you can't lose that way. It just can't happen.
You can't. That was pretty summed up the Cowboys season right there. The way he lost that game. It did. And with Parsons, there is perks to playing with Dallas. You're 13 out of your 17 games, you're either playing at 4:30 or you got a primetime game. You're always in the spotlight. You're usually going to be a team that's going to be in the playoffs, not this year. Now, if he wants to be a Super Bowl contender, you definitely want to go elsewhere. And there's definitely be suitors there that would love to have him. But yeah, we'll see what they do. And if you sign Parsons as well, I know the cap's going to go up, but how much money do you have to sign everybody? You have to hit on every draft pick you have.
Every draft pick they're going to have to hit on. Yeah, because they paid. I think Dak was the guy you have to pay. You had to pay Dak. but I think they overpaid CeeDee Lamb. I think he's really good, but he's not Justin Jefferson, but they paid him Justin Jefferson money. The only position you could pay a good player great money is quarterback. Outside of that, you can't do that or it's going to hurt your franchise. You can't. An edge rusher, you got to pay what they're worth. A receiver, you got to pay what they're worth, or it's going to hurt your franchise, especially when you have 3 guys making top money. You just can't do it.
No, you can't, because everything else is going to suffer, and you've seen it across the offensive line's not great. And again, you have a couple bad draft classes. It's going to sink your franchise. And again, that's why the Chiefs are still pretty good, because they hit on their draft picks. You got to hit on those guys.
Especially with the defensive players, with Nick Bolton and Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis, they hit with those guys.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. And I know they're usually a decent drafting, Dallas.
They're
now,
a pretty good drafting. They're a pretty good drafting team, but they've now put themselves in position where they're going to they have to hit on every draft pick and forget going out and doing anything in free agency. That's going to be over if they pay Mike all that money.
Yeah, absolutely. It will. And, look, I think the best thing for Dallas is to lose out, get a top 5, top 10 pick, and just to get some talent in that door, because that's what they need. They just need talent infusion right now. So, yeah, they'll probably win. They might win one more, but yeah, they could win more, but they just need a fusion of talent in there. They got to hit in their draft picks, and we'll see if Jerry can do it. But it's never going to change with Jones is in charge.
No, it's not. It's not, and that's why they're always going to be decent because they draft well, but they're never going to be a championship contender. I just don't feel like with Jerry Jones running the show, they're ever going to be a Super Bowl contender. But now moving on to an NFC East team that's going to be a Super Bowl contender for the next decade, and that's the Washington Commanders, as they head to New Orleans to face the Saints. And it looks like the Saints are not going to have Derek Carr. It looks like it's going to be Jake Haener as the starter. And I think, all right, maybe they compete early with Darren Rizzi, but eventually I think the run game of Washington takes over. Jaden Daniels throws a couple touchdown passes, and I think Jake Haener turns the ball over a couple times. I got Washington here. I got Washington by 2 scores. I got Washington 27-23. But Justin, can Darren Rizzi get to 4-1 as an interim head coach and keep the Saints in that race in the NFC South?
No, I got the Commanders as well here, 20-17. Washington here coming off the bye. Their last game against Tennessee, that offense really looked like it got back into form. I think Jaden Daniels too be closer to 100% now that he had that bye as well. So I really like the Commanders in this one. Yeah, the Saints won ugly last week. Jake Haener, I liked him coming out of Fresno. Maybe he could be the franchise guy there, but I just think Washington coming off a bye here. I think their defense plays pretty well. I think the Saints kind of show this one, and Washington takes care of business.
Yeah, and look at what Washington's done. It shows you what what can happen when you pretty much clean house like they did. Get a quarterback, get a new head coach who has had experience, who got to a Super Bowl, and then get a new GM. It just shows you what happens when you make changes. The Giants and Cowboys should be taking note. This is what happens when you make changes in your organization. And this new ownership group, I trust in Washington. I'm telling you one thing. Washington's going to be, I don't know if they're, a Super Bowl contender this year, but I think the next decade, they're going to definitely be, the cap space. Let me tell you, I think, the Eagles are close, but the Commanders are the team you want to be in the NFC East. Cap space, young quarterback, new GM, new head coach. That's the team you want to be in the NFC East.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. Yeah. Because they were one of the, they were right there as one of the worst ranked franchises. Obviously the new ownership's done a lot, and they've really changed that front office, and they've changed the culture really, really quickly here. And yeah, that NFC East right now, right now, it's them and the Eagles, because obviously Dallas will get back there at some point. You would hope the Giants can too, but I know you mentioned the last couple of weeks here, but yeah, like Dallas is used to being able to beat up on the Commanders and the Giants every year, and that's not going to be the case anymore for Dallas, and Washington's going to be able to kind of be right there with the Eagles, it seems like, every year with the people that they have in charge now. So it does show you what a new ownership can do and how that the culture could change. And finally getting a starting quarterback or having a franchise guy too, obviously has really transformed that offense as well.
And I don't want to hear about, the RG3 comparison. Jaden Daniels is a different style quarterback as RG3, and there's no ownership there. I don't want to hear the RG3 comparisons. Do not give me the RG3 comparison with the Commanders. The Commanders will be a Super Bowl contender for the next decade because they have Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, absolutely. He will. And Jaden's a guy that's played a lot of football already. He played 5 seasons of college. Like, he's a very experienced guy. So So yeah, Jane Daniels would be really, really talented. Again, he's grown a lot since his freshman year at Arizona State, where it kind of looked like maybe a day three guy, and he's gotten a lot better. So yeah, and I think the Force, especially Cliff Kingsbury as his OC, I think I definitely think this is kind of only the beginning for him, and we'll see what Washington can do with him, and if he can really transform that organization, and maybe down the line here can get that team back to like a Super Bowl and win one in Washington.
Absolutely, definitely, absolutely. So we got your team heading out to Arizona, the site of one great moment for you guys, and then one poor moment for you guys. The site of the Super Bowl. We'll start. The site of the Super Bowl win against the Seahawks, and the site of the Super Bowl loss against the Giants. Patriots head to Glendale to face the Cardinals. And I think this is going to be an interesting game because I think it's going to be high scoring. I think the Cardinals, because this is kind of the get right week for Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's been struggling, but playing your defense, I feel like it's a get right week game. But I do think Drake May is going to have a good game. But again, I think it's going to come down to the end where you guys lose the game either with the defense not making a stop or Drake May turning the ball over. So I think it's going to come down to the end with you losing another close one here. And I got the Cardinals here. I got the Cardinals 31-24. But Justin, can Drake May carry the Pats to an upset win in Arizona?
I think they keep it close, but I had Arizona here as well, 27-23. They're coming off the bye, the Pats are, so they're hopefully rested. I think they needed it. That Colts game, that's the game you have to win. You get the interception up a touchdown. Yes. 9 minutes left.
And that's the thing. Defensive head coach Gerard Mayo. You're a defensive head coach, and you're facing a quarterback that's thrown for like 100 yards all day. That stop has got to be made. And as a Patriot, if you are a Patriot fan, I feel like you have to have concern with Mayo going forward. The fact you couldn't win a game like that, a game that you dominated, a game that you completely outplayed the Colts in, and you didn't win. If you're a Pats fan, I think there's a little bit of. I'm not saying you should fire Mayo, but there should be some concern about Mayo. There should be some concern about Mayo not winning that game.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think he's been great either this year with the press conferences. Like I think he leaves a lot to be desired to me. I haven't really been a big fan.
The Miami comments too. I can't help you guys. Calling the team for being soft.
Yep. Yeah. So there's just a lot to be, left to be desired with him. So there's a report out there that he is playing for his job. I don't know if I don't totally believe it.
I can't buy that. A guy who played on the team is going to be fired in 1 year. Now, is this the right call? We have no idea if it's the right call or not. This was the right decision or not. He was one thing we do know is he was handed the job. Him and Elliot Wolf were handed those jobs. I mean, they didn't even do a GM. They barely did a GM search. They didn't do a head coaching search. He was handed that job. He was handed the job. Do we know what kind of coach he's going to be yet? No. The first year, you definitely have your doubts because of the way this defense is played. He's a defensive coach. And like the difference between him and Canales in Carolina, the offense has improved in Carolina. That's why I think you buy into Dave Canales in Carolina. But Gerard Mayo, why you don't buy into Gerard Mayo is the defense is this side of the ball hasn't gotten it right. And this was a decent defense last year.
Yeah. Every category, I think defensively from this year to last year is worse than it was. I think every category. So yeah, that's the issue. It's nice to have Drake May. I still want a new OC. Now, I'd take Dable as my OC. I see some Josh Allen, or I see some Josh Allen, Drake May.
And let me tell you, Dayball has a relationship with Gerard. He's a good relationship with the Patriots because he won 5 rings there. I could see Dayball going there. And let me tell you something. If he goes there, it'd be much better than Joe Judge going there. That's for sure.
Oh, yes, it would. It would definitely be a lot better than that. I'd take about anybody. I'd take Van Pelt to be the QB coach because I think he's done a good job with May. I don't think he's an OC yet. So yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully May plays well. Hopefully he stays away from that one turnover. But I also have to thank Mac Jones for that comeback win. He helped us out there on Sunday as well. So Mac Jones gives the Patriots a better draft pick there on Sunday.
Yeah. He does. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a competitive game, but I think ultimately the better team is gonna win, and the Cardinals are gonna get right on offense and win 31-24 over the Patriots. Now, interesting game in Cleveland is we got the Chiefs taking on the Browns. You got the Chiefs and Browns in Cleveland. On Sunday, we get Sunday. I think this is going to be. It's going to be a close game because the Chiefs always play close games, and I do think the Browns will stay in it. But I think at the end of the day, I just can't take Jameis Winston over Patrick Mahomes. I think Winston's going to make that big mistake, and he's going to end up costing the Browns. That's why I got the Chiefs winning it 24-17. But Justin, Jameis Winston upset the Ravens. Jameis Winston and the Browns upset the Ravens. They upset the Steelers. Could they do the same against the Chiefs at home?
Yeah, I'm going Cleveland 20-27. I'm so done with this. I can't stand watching Chiefs games anymore. They can't. They made a deal with the devil. Like they cannot keep winning games like this. It blows my mind. And look, Jameis, he always has one good game. That game was on Monday night. Last week was a bad week. So now I think you get the good Jameis this week. And KC's secondary is really banged up. For all the injuries the Chargers have at the receiver position, guys were wide open last week for Los Angeles. So I think Jameis Winston plays pretty well this week. I do think Mahomes is going to have his yards as well. But I think the Chiefs finally lose a close game, and Cleveland's a team to upset him here. So, yeah, I'll go with Jameis having a big day through the air.
It wouldn't shock me. 2 of the 3 Cleveland wins were upsets at home. I know they were divisional opponents, but they were upsets at home. So it wouldn't shock me if the Chiefs won this week. Moving on to a game in the AFC, probably one of the bigger matchups in the AFC is the Dolphins, the 6-7 Dolphins take on the 8-5 Texans. Dolphins need this win. If the Dolphins don't win this game, they don't make the playoffs because this would prove that they can't beat a good team. The Dolphins beat up on the Patriots, they beat up on the Jets, but they can't beat the good teams in this league, and that's been the problem ever since Mike McDaniel's taken over. They beat up on the bad teams, they can't beat the good teams. And that's been the big issue since McDaniel's taken over. And I think this is going to be a fun, close, competitive game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both quarterbacks are going to have really good games. I think Joe Mixon's going to have a good day on the ground. I think Tua's going to have a good game. I think C.J. Stroud's going to have a good game. But he's going to come down to the end. And I think C.J. Stroud leads the Texans on a game-winning drive. And I got the Texans going to 9-5, and I got the Dolphins going to 6-8. I got the Texans here 30-27. But Justin, can the Dolphins finally beat a good team and keep their playoff hopes alive?
No, I got Houston here as well, 20-21. I think Houston definitely needed that bye last week because remember they played in the Hall of Fame game back in August. So like they started training camp back in July. Like them and the Bears are the first team. So I really think they just need that body get healthy, get rested, just to get off their feet a little bit. And I think Stroud bounces back, and I think he plays pretty well in this one. And Miami should have lost last week to the Jets. Like they should have. And I'm still in the survivor pool and had Miami last week, so like Christmas came early for me. Like
I sure did, yeah, because that game looked lost. That game looked like the Jets had lost it. The Jets looked like the Jets looked like they had won it. And of course, in typical Jet fashion, they blow it.
Yeah, they blew it. So I gotta thank the Jets for blowing that one. And so I think the Houston here coming off the bye. I know both coaches Ryans and McDaniel know each other pretty well from their time back when they're sitting with the Niners here. But I just think the Texans coming off a bye here. I like them a little bit better than Miami. You mentioned it. They don't beat a good team ever. They're kind of like Dallas last couple years. They're the bully.
Yeah. They're the Cowboys of the AFC. That's a great comparison. The Dolphins are the Cowboys of the AFC. They beat up on the bad teams and they just can't beat the good teams.
Yeah. And I think that's going to continue this week. I think Tua probably puts up some yardage and they have a good game through the air. But yeah, I don't trust that defense, and I expect Houston here at home to correct the issues that they had the last time we saw them in Tennessee.
Yeah,
a couple weeks.
I agree. I got Houston winning this game 30-27 and pretty much wrapping up the AFC South. I got Houston winning it and pretty much wrapping up because they'll need the Colts to lose to wrap up the division. But the win this week would put Houston in a really good spot to win the AFC South. Now we'll move on to a game in Tennessee between the Bengals and the Titans. Bengals got super lucky last week. They got super lucky to beat the Cowboys. I mean, they're in a 2020 game with a backup quarterback. It's amazing that with the way this team has fallen the last 2 years. I mean, 3 years ago they were this close to winning the Super Bowl. The year after, they're this close to getting back to the Super Bowl. Last year, they fall off. They go 9-8. I know Burrow got hurt, but they end up going 9-8. And then this year, they've completely fallen off. Their defense is horrendous. Their offensive line isn't good. They were so lucky that Burrow and Chase, that the block punt bailed them out, and then Burrow and Chase bailed them out. Zach Taylor should not be retained as the head coach. But luckily for them, they are playing the Titans. And Joe Burrow is not losing to Will Levis, and that's why I got the Bengals winning this week 27-17. But Justin, can the Titans end the Bengals playoff hopes this week?
No, I got Cincy here 24-21. Yeah. My only worry here for Cincinnati, the future wise, is there's the same organization like Marvin Lewis here for 15 years. They had that guy on.
And they have another average to above average coach they're probably going to keep for a seventh here.
Yeah.
With an absolute stud at the quarterback position. What were you going to say there?
Is this a little bit of a stretch? Could Joe Burrow be like the next Dan Marino? Get the one Super Bowl, never get
Yep.
back?
I could see it. I could see it happening. This organization, I could see it happening. I could see it happening. I could very
Yeah.
easily see that happening.
Yeah, because that owner's pretty cheap. So
Yep.
probably because Zach Taylor's got what, like 2 or 3 years left in his contract. He's probably not
Yep.
going to want to buy him out.
Yep.
He's probably going to, yeah. It's sad because Joe Burrow's got all the talent in the world, but you're going to lose probably T. Higgins out of the two of him and Chase. So yeah, they're deep. They're a soft football team, and Zach Taylor's not great. But yeah, it'd be unfortunate because Burrow's got so much talent, and this, be great to see him and Mahomes in the AFC Championship game, or him and Allen, but yeah, like this organization's gonna really cost them, and it's unfortunate because Burrow's got all the talent in the world.
Yeah, he does. He's a top four. He's clearly a top four quarterback in the league with Lamar, with Mahomes, and with Josh Allen. But the organization he's in is just is a an average organ. It's a mediocre organization. And it's tough in this sport to win a Super Bowl and overcome an organization like that. He almost did it in 2021. Give him credit. He almost did it in 2021, but it's just very, very tough to do that. This isn't the NBA where the Lakers could be trash for a decade and then get LeBron and win a championship, or the Cavs could be a trash organization, get LeBron and get to the NBA Finals a bunch of times and win a championship. That doesn't happen in football. You have to have at least a good organization to win you have to at least be a good organization to win a Super Bowl. You can't be an average to bad organization and win a championship. And I think that's the problem. You made a great comparison with with Dan Marino and Joe Burrow. They're very similar, both playing mediocre organizations, and very easily might just get to that one Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be unfortunate. And, in that division too, you have two of the top 5 best organizations too in the sport that you got to play twice a year. And I know Cleveland's still not great, but like they are a little bit better than they have been the last, 20 years or so.
That's not saying much, but yeah,
that's
not saying much, but they're a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough, and yeah, their organization, cheap owner, and it just, and that's gonna hurt. And yeah, it's unfortunate because he's got all the talent in the world, and it'd be great to see him get one and win a title for a kid too that grew up in Ohio too. So I know that's got to be pretty special for him. But yeah, it'd be totally unfortunate if he can't get back there and win one. It absolutely would.
It definitely would be. It definitely would be. But I do think they beat the Titans this week. Now, moving on to a matchup of 3-10 teams, two pathetic organizations with the Jets and the Jaguars. I mean, we're not spending much time on this game. The Jets blow every game. They've blown so many games this year, but I just think they're just clearly the more talented team in this game, and they won't be, and they just can't blow it because the Jaguars with Mac Jones just can't. They won 10-6 last week. I mean, Mac Jones has really regressed from I know you're a Mac, you were a Mac guy, but he's really regressed from 3 years ago. And I think this is a Jets win. I got the Jets 20-13, but both these teams are obviously going to have new coaches and new GMs next year. Justin, who you got in this game?
Yeah, I got the Jets here as well, 2016. Rodgers, first time in 3 years, throwing for over 300 yards. The offense looked as good as it has all year. So, yeah, poor Mac. The Patriots really broke that kid Matt Patricia really broke that guy. Him and Belichick did a lot to him. So, I think the Jets do find a way. I wouldn't be shocked. This game ends up like in a tie either. But, I see the Jets getting this win.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Jets win this one. Now we got some big matchups in the outside of the big games in the 4 o'clock window. The secondary games in the 4 o'clock window. We got some big matchups. We got we got the Colts and Broncos. This game's a big matchup because for the Colts, this is pretty much I feel like this is their season because I think the Texans are going to win, so they'll be 9-5. So if they lose this, I think they're out on the division, and I think they're out on the wild card because if the Broncos win this, they're 9-5, and they're 4 games behind both those two teams with 3 to play. So this is their season. I feel like the season is on the line for the Colts this week in Indianapolis. But here's the issue: I right now I trust Bo Nix more than I trust Anthony Richardson. I know Anthony Richardson's had those 2 come from behind wins, but look who they've been against: the Jets and the Patriots. I think he's not. This is definitely a much better defense than he faced in 2 of those wins. And I think what they do is they contain Jonathan Taylor, maybe Richardson with his legs. They move the ball a little bit, but I don't think they're scoring touchdowns. They'll kick field goals, and the Broncos will run the football with McLaughlin and Javonte Williams, and Bo Nix will throw a couple touchdowns. And I got the Broncos going to 9-5 here. I got the Broncos winning this game 24-16. But Justin, can the Colts keep their playoff hopes alive in Denver on Sunday afternoon?
I do have Denver 21-20. I do know we're about to get the baseball next show, but Garrett Crochet is about to get traded. It just got traded to the Red Sox, according to Jeff
Wow.
Passan. So
Wow. That's
after they
big.
miss out on Freed.
That is big.
So
That is big. We'll definitely that'll probably be the lead story. That's big. That's big for
yeah.
them.
The only guy right now is Kyle Teal going to the White Sox. The only name I've seen. I know that's one of the Red Sox top prospects. I know he
Yep.
had a pretty good year at the minors.
Yep.
So yeah, I know. So yeah, Red Sox finally did something off season. But yeah, you mentioned it. Richardson's starting to play better, but yeah, so some pretty bad competition or pretty bad defense the last couple weeks. So I do think Bo Nix in this one with his leg makes a play or two. And I just think Denver at home's usually a tough out in this one, and I think Sean Payton versus Gus Bradley, like that matchup too. You got to take Sean Payton. So I got the Broncos winning this one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Broncos pulled out. Now, moving on to the team that is ahead of the Broncos in the who's ahead of the Broncos in the standings, and that's the Chargers. They're another 8-5 team, trying to get a wild card spot, and they got a matchup against the Bucks this week. I think the big loss for the Bucks is going to be Winfield, and it's going to hurt them in the run game. That's why I think that the Chargers will be able to run the football against the Bucks. I think Turbot will throw a touchdown pass or two. I think Baker will compete, but Baker's been making some mistakes these last couple of weeks. Baker's thrown 2 picks he's thrown 4 picks in the last 2 games. I think he throws a couple picks in this game, and it costs the Buck. I don't think he's healthy. I think he's a little bit banged up. And I think the Chargers win this game. I got to win it at 27-23. But Justin, can the Bucks win their 4th straight game and stay on top in the NFC South?
Now I got the Chargers here 24-20. Baker the last couple of weeks, like he just has that one bad interception. And I think in this one it cost him. I really like the way the Chargers defense is playing as well. And I just think Justin Herbert outduels Baker in this one. And Harbaugh's done a really nice job. They should have got that game on Sunday night. And but the tide's turning there. And I do think, the Chargers just forced Baker to make that mistake or two, and that's gonna be the costly one in this football game.
Yeah, Harbaugh has. I mean, without McConkey, they almost won that game. So they almost won. They were close against the Chiefs twice, but they lost both times. But yeah, it's going to be now. It's going to again. That as I said it last week. The Broncos and Chargers are coming for the Chiefs. And they're going to be there, and they're there to stay because the Broncos got a coach and a quarterback now. Finally, that they got a coach quarterback combination in Sean Payton and Bo Nix, and the Chargers they got a coach quarterback combination in Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert.
Yeah, absolutely. Great job with the last 2 shows, the last couple of weeks. I have listened in. So yeah, because those 2 teams now are going to be right there in the tight. And talking to my brother the other day about the Raiders and that with the NFC or the AFC West now with the 3 teams now that competent. It's gonna be tough for the Raiders to uphill battle now for them. So yeah, for the Chiefs and Broncos, it's good and be good to finally have somebody knock off the Chiefs here in the AFC West at some point in the near future.
Exactly. We're all getting sick of the Chiefs doing all this winning. But we'll move on to the team that's chasing the Bucks in the NFC South, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. And they'll go to the team we just talked about. They'll go to Vegas, face the Raiders. And I think an upset's coming here. Kirk Cousins has been bad. He's been really bad during this losing streak. 0 touchdowns. 7 interceptions. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in over a month. And it just again it makes the Falcons look really bad for the decision they made. Not being again like the Giants, that you can't tell me they were 100% committed to Kirk Cousins and they paid him all that money. It made no sense what Terry Fontenot did. They paid him all that money. They were not 100% committed to him. And he has really struggled these last couple of weeks. He's really struggled. And I think his struggles continue. I think he throws a pick or 2 here. I don't think he throws a touchdown pass. I think the Raiders contain the run game on defense. I think the Raiders finally win this one. It could be Aiden O'Connell facing his former team, but I think it could be Desmond Ridder facing his former team. But I think the Raiders finally win this one. I get the Raiders here. I got the Raiders in the upset, 20-16. But Justin, can the Falcons finally end this losing streak and stay in that race in the NFC South?
I have Atlanta winning 23-17 if Aiden O'Connell can't go. Or, I mean, if Aiden O'Connell does go, I do think the Raiders win this game. If it's Desmond Ridder, then I do think Atlanta gets this win. But, yeah, I think, Ridder, Boneben's former team, maybe has a chance in this one. But, yeah, the way Kirk Cousins has played it's been brutal. And the Falcons' defense, they only have 19 sacks in the year. They can't generate any pass rush. So, I do think the Raiders often maybe looks confident in this one. And Mac Crosby is going to be able to get to Kirk Cousins, I think, in this game. So, I could definitely see the Raiders defense turn them over a couple of times and making a play or two to help them win this game. But if Aiden O'Connell plays, I do think the Raiders can win this one. But if it's Ritter, I do think Atlanta finally snaps their losing streak and gets a win.
Alrighty, yeah. I think it's gonna. I think the Raiders win it. I just think Kirk Cousins is just not playing well, and it could. I don't think it's time to go to Michael Penix, but if they get out of this race in the NFC South, it's time to go to Penix. And I don't think Kirk Cousins is gonna be back this year. I don't think it's gonna be back, and it's gonna be a $25 million cap hit. This thing has went south for Kirk Cousins and the Falcons a lot quicker than they thought it would. But we're going to wrap up the show talking about the other Monday night game, and that is between the Bears and the Vikings. And things have gone completely south for the Chicago Bears. There was a time, I think they were outgained like 300 yards to 2 on Sunday. The Eberflus hiring made things, even though he needed to be fired because that was inexcusable what happened on Thanksgiving. How you leave a timeout in your pocket after a game, that's inexcusable. But the problem with moving, Thomas Brown went from like an offensive assistant to the offensive coordinator to the head coach, and the problem is it hurt Caleb Williams because now he doesn't have his offense. He doesn't have his offensive coordinator. So I think it's going to be an absolute mess for the Bears. I think the Vikings they've been playing great. Sam Darnold, you got to start giving him some credit. He's played great. I know we have trouble trusting him in the playoffs, but he's been great. He's been really good this year. And he lost Christian Jarvis, so you saw that third down at Justin Jefferson last week. It was awesome. Sam Darnold's been really, really good. This combination between him and Kevin O'Connell has really worked out. I think the Vikings win big here. I got the Vikings 31-13 over the Bears. But Justin, can the Bears snap their 7-game losing streak and get revenge for what happened a couple of weeks ago against the Vikings?
No, I got Minnesota 27-17. I thought that team, the Bears last week, would show fight, and that team just rolled over and quit on Sunday. And I don't expect any different this week. You mentioned Darnold's played really, really well. They've hit on a couple of deep balls. I think they'll do that again. And I just think they're going to make Caleb Williams uncomfortable in this one. I think it's going to be a tough day for the Chicago to get anything going against a Brian Flores-led defense. So, yeah, I expect the Minnesota to win another one and go to 12-2 on the year. So, pretty good year by Sam Darnold, that Vikings team. So I expect them to get it done here against the Bears.
Yeah, I think they do. I think the Vikings they get it done against the Bears. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Sports Talk with RJ. We're going to be back in 10 minutes, and we got breaking news in Major League Baseball, and we got a team that's just done something, has just made a move in the offseason. They have not made a move this big in the offseason in years. So we will be talking about that in 10 minutes, and make sure you tune in for that.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Burn, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.